I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair. As always, I'm thrilled to be here with you today. Today, we're on podcast number 216, the last episode of June. And we are talking today about navigating 2020 from our adult chair. Goodness gracious, do we need to learn how to live in our adult chair right now? And not only now, but my goodness. 2020 has been, I am having, as I've had on other shows, a really, really hard time finding words. And I usually don't have that problem, but I like to use a curse word, but in case the little ears are listening, I'm just going to call it's been a poop storm. It's been like crazy from the beginning of January till now. And it's really hard to navigate from our adult. It's really hard to navigate from our healthiest place when we're triggered all over the place, when we've got emotions running all over the place and a range of emotions. So today we're going to talk about how we do just that. How do we navigate when there is so much going on in our world? How do we find our adult chair? How do we sit there when there's this much chaos? It's chaos going on right now. From January till the end of June, it's been chaotic. Let's see. I want to share with you guys, this is the final show for the summer, the final new show, I should say. We're taking our usual 6 weeks off to plan, record, and prep for the rest of 2020 and, of course, the beginning of 2021. And what a welcome relief that's going to be. It's been a very hectic last few months. It's just been tough. It's been tough for all of us. I have not talked to one person that has not agreed this has been really, really difficult. But we're going to be back on August 13th. 13 is my lucky number, so you know it's going to be a great show. But for the next 6 weeks, we're going to be running some of our favorites for you. Actually, I should say some of your favorites, the most recent favorites that you have told us that you loved. We're going to run those again. And I have a feeling you're going to love them and get some valuable information that you might have missed the first time. So you've got that coming for you starting next week. And as always, you can keep in touch. I would love to keep in touch with you on social media. I am both on Instagram and I have numerous Facebook accounts. They're all under Michelle Chalfant. So come find me and I'd love to interact there. So again, today on the show is all about 2020 and the storm that we're all going through, from COVID to the stock market crash to racial inequality. And these are all huge issues, not just as a country, but for the entire world. The only announcements that I want to share with you right before we dive into all of this is we had the Adult Chair Workshop in Nashville the end of July, and that is sold out. However, I'm really looking forward to being up in New York in October of 2020 and also in Charleston in January of 2021. So you can check that out. And also for those of you, I know we've had some recent inquiries, the Adult Chair Coaching Certification that actually now we're kicking off in September. I'm so excited. We bounced that around, but now we're back in September. That is full. We are maxed out with that, but we'll be running another one in 2021 in June. So you can go and get on our wait list for that, and you'll be notified as soon as we have the information for the June 2020 coaching certification. But if you want any information, and if you're new to the Adult Chair, just go to theadultchair.com and you can get all the information about workshops, certification, membership, podcast, whatever you need, theadultchair.com. And I've got all kinds of free stuff there for you too. Okay. Let's get right back to this. Let's learn how to navigate 2020 from our adults, which is what I call our healthy adult that is seated firmly in our adult chair. So how are you doing with the first part of 2020? If I had to guess, because I talked to a heck of a lot of people, it's probably a common theme of, since January, fear, anxiety, stress. I hear about overwhelm. I hear a lot about disempowerment, anger, and even hatred. I am hearing a range of emotions, but a lot of it, we feel so out of control and disempowered. But again, it's a range of everything going on. And people are asking me, how do we navigate all of it? Like everything, so much. So our goal, no matter what is going on in life, is to stay in our adult chair. This is the seat of our authentic and most healthy self. And the question is, can we be there with so much chaos in the world? And the answer is yes. Yes. When we're faced with fear, though, we have a tendency to slide out of our adult chair, the seat of the authentic part of who we are, and we get pulled by our ego into what I call our adolescent chair. This is the seat of unconsciousness. This is the seat of the ego. It is driven by fear and survival, and its job is to keep you safe and alive. So how do we know when we're in the adolescent chair versus the adult chair? Here's a few signs. We have racing thoughts. We have ruminating thoughts. We ruminate over things like worst case scenario. We have obsessive thinking. This is a big one. We find ourselves quickly judging others. Okay. We may see something, wherever, on social media, we're talking to a friend, someone that has an opinion that's not the same opinion as ours. And man, boom, we're quick to judge. And we don't even have the full story. We may be living very defensively. We're quick to react. Okay. There's a big difference between reacting. Reacting is like a knee-jerk reaction, right? Responding is when we slow down, take in information, and then we respond. So when we're in the adolescent chair, in this ego-driven chair, we react. We also make up stories and assumptions about what may happen and live with fear or panic or worry or even anger over it. And the thing is, with stories and assumptions, we're making them up. It's like, it's not true. We go into story and like, oh my gosh, this may happen or that may happen. And I know this and that's going to happen. Here's the freaking crazy thing. 97% of the time, our assumptions and stories do not come true. So when we're living there, oh my gosh, it creates so much anxiety. And speaking of panic, and anxiety, we can't get out of it when we are in this adolescent chair. You might even be experiencing depression because from this egoic place, we depress our emotions, which creates, of course, depression. You also might even be experiencing sleep issues, insomnia, restless sleeping. I'm hearing people talk about drinking more, eating more. They shop unconsciously. They might be just on Amazon or on any online store and they're shopping. Even now that the stores are starting to open, they're just going and like aimlessly just buying all this stuff they don't even need because it's just they're doing things to numb out their emotions. Some people watch endless television, Netflix. They're not. And again, when we're in this chair, we're not in touch with our emotions. We're very quick to anger. We might even be filled with rage from this chair. There's a big difference between rage and anger. Rage is explosive anger. Anger is actually a very, very healthy emotion. I have no problem with anger. Rage is explosive and reactive. Big difference. And we do rage from the adolescent chair. We do anger from the adult chair. Anger is, again, healthy. Also from the adolescent chair, though, we do feel disempowered and we're living everywhere but in the moment. We're stuck in the past or you're living in the future and always assuming the worst. So that's what living in the adolescent chair is all about. It's, again, from the ego, which is filled with fear. So it's doing everything where it's giving us all these ideas on how we protect ourselves instead of living from a place of presence. So I'm wondering, does this sound like you? And even just a little bit, feel into it a little bit and just get clear on, gosh, could this be where I'm coming from? I myself have been there, but I've managed to pull myself out of it because I know this adult chair model so well. And I really do practice this. And it has been of the utmost, what's the word I want to use? Importance or help to me, I should say. So I really want to share with you how I'm navigating this time using this adult chair model. Because our goal, no matter what is going on, is to stay in this adult chair, no matter what your opinion is, this is where we're living, okay? We want to live from this healthiest place. It's from a place of passion and truth and centeredness. And I want to remind you that if I'm living in my adult chair and I'm living from this place of centeredness and peacefulness, what I might do in the world and what I might say in the world might look very differently from you, and that's okay. But my decisions are coming from a centered place, from a place of presence. That's the difference. So we want to make sure that we're living in this place before we take steps out into the world or make a statement, or, we want to get really clear about what's true for us. So here's the thing. When we're living in the adult chair, this is what it looks like. We feel our emotions. We let them process through us. We do not take action from a triggered place. We honor other people's paths that they're on. Our path is not the best path. We look at other people's paths and we go, okay, that's their path. Go for it. We gather information and seek out facts and truth. And by the way, when we look at other people's paths, it doesn't mean I have to agree. Does not mean I have to agree. But we gather information, we seek out facts and truth. We speak in fact and truth, and we do not make up assumptions that you heard from so-and-so or guessed it for yourself. We're empowered. We speak with boundaries. We're okay not speaking and waiting. We are patient, okay? We're okay not speaking up immediately, and we're okay waiting. I want you to hear me. I'm not saying don't take action. I'm not saying do not speak up. I'm saying get clear and maybe interject a pause before you do so. We do this from our adult chair. When we're living in our adult, it's not this reactionary place, but it's also not a place of where I'm sitting in my lotus Zen position with, I'm sitting in my cross-legged place. It's like, no, I might take a lot of action, but I'm doing it from a centered place. The last thing when we're living in our adult chair, or it's not quite the last thing actually, is we don't judge ourselves or others. We observe and inquire, especially if we lack truth and understanding. Again, I may not agree with what you're doing, but we hold our judgment and we live in the moment. And this is the thing, when we're triggered, this is a really hard place to live, but the more we practice, the easier it becomes. I really, really promise you this. The more we practice working with triggers, the easier it becomes. I do my very best to practice this on a daily basis. I really do practice what I preach. And I have to say, I've never in my life been able to navigate such judgment, chaos, and stress in such a way as I'm doing the last few months. I have not been perfect. I'm the first to admit it. I have not mastered it, but man, I'm really grateful that I had this model to cling to during this time. So I just know where I want to live from and come from. I want to come from my adult. I want to come from a healthy place. And I know when I'm not in my adult chair. That's the other key. I know when I'm not there, so I know what to do to get in there. And I love the same for all of you because I know it helps us. It's an easier place to live. It gives us tools to navigate into our adult when we know this model. So I want to share with you how we stay in our adult during these really difficult times. I really want you to help find your truth and take action that you feel necessary, whatever's true for you, and do it. And by the way, it might mean that your action is non-action and to remain quiet. And that's okay too. But here's the thing. The key is to find your truth and what's most important for you. I remember even with COVID, people were calling me saying things like, not that COVID isn't going on, it still is, but when it was really heating up in the beginning, people were like, well, I'm not okay with my husband, going to the grocery store and he doesn't even wear a mask. Is that okay? I'm like, it doesn't matter what Michelle says. It matters what you say. What do you feel? So I'm constantly redirecting people back to their truth. Like, what's your truth about it? Because my truth might not be your truth. And that's okay. Nobody has the exact same truths, 100%. Nobody does. So the key here is to find your truth and live from that place. And again, take action from that place or stay quiet from that place. But your truth will guide you. So the key is connect to truth. Remembering that we're all connecting to something bigger than ourselves, bigger than our human selves. There's something much bigger guiding all of us. You can call it God, source, loving source, universe, whatever you'd like to call it. I personally call it God, but whatever you want to call it is fine. But if you're living and breathing, you're connecting to this beautiful energy source, and it will guide you if you're quiet and listen, and it will help you to find your truth. The problem again is fear disconnects us. So what I'm watching and looking at and observing and listening to people, when I'm listening to them, I'm hearing so much fear. We're having a really hard time getting in our adult chairs and finding our truth because we're in such fear. It's disconnecting us from that very source. So when we can live from this connected place, though, we navigate in a different way. Again, I want you to be here, clearly hear me. It may not look like what anyone else is doing, but then again, it may. But it's a navigation system that you have built in, and it's from a clear, connected, empowered, strong place when you live in your adult chair. So let me help you get there. Here's some ways. I've got some ideas for you. Number one, emotions. You got to feel what you're feeling. What are these emotions coming up through you? You've got to get in touch with what's going on inside. We are having, again, a lot of fear, and we are not feeling it. We're having a lot of anger, and we're reacting to the anger. And I'm not saying don't be angry. I've been angry myself about a lot of different things that have happened over the last 6 months. But don't react from an angry place. Big difference. Speaking of emotions, let's discuss something you might have all touched on the last few months: anxiety. I found myself waking up with anxiety a few mornings, really a lot of it in the last, it's off and on. Like there's been so much going on. I would find myself just waking up like nothing's even happened. Why is my whole body shaking? Why do I have knots in my stomach? I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And what I realized is that our mind is running nonstop. And if I'm not clearing my mind, getting centered, etc., daily, I'm going to bed with a lot, quote unquote, on my mind. And just because we're sleeping doesn't mean the mind is stopping. So therefore, the mind is still running. Think about the mind running on a treadmill, and then I'm waking up and it's like knots in my stomach. I'm like, how in the world do I have anxiety? I haven't even had a thought yet. Well, it's because we've got unresolved stress coming from the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind. So remember, in the adult chair model, anxiety is defined as a physical manifestation of unfelt emotions. Having lived with anxiety for probably the first half of my life, and I mean chronic anxiety, I really find that this holds true. Anxiety is a physical feeling. It's a physical sensation. It's not an emotion. Anxiety is something that we experience in the physical body: racing heartbeat, knots in your stomach, difficulty breathing, racing thoughts, etc. These are physical. They come from emotions that are unprocessed, and unprocessed emotions can trigger our nervous system to be stuck in overdrive as well. So what we want to do is get these emotions to process through us. Okay? No matter what's going on in your life, you've got to feel your emotions. And I know, because I've talked to so many of you over all these years, people say to me, I don't know how to feel my emotions. So of course, we go to this adolescent chair, and the ego has all these beautiful ideas like go eat some cake, go to have a glass of wine, go whatever to numb out. But the key is you have to practice feeling these emotions. And the great news is it only takes 90 seconds when you fully feel an emotion. The problem is we get our mind going and it begins to make up stories about the emotion. So instead of just feeling fear, it makes up stories and ideas about the fear, why we have the fear, who to blame, who to judge, blah, 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 instead of just saying, gosh, I'm so afraid. I need to feel that fear. So let me talk to you about how to feel emotions. Number one, you don't even need to label your emotions. If this is a new concept for you and you're really learning how to feel your emotions, who cares if you can't label it? Many people have sat across from me over all my years of doing therapy and coaching with people, and they'll say, I have no idea what I'm feeling. That's okay. What I do say to them is, especially it's really hard if you're not good at feeling your emotions. People will say they get panicky, like, oh, I got to feel it immediately and I don't know what I'm doing. And they get all stressed and they're back in their adolescent chair. I'm like, wait a minute, slow down, slow down. Take a breath. What could you be feeling? Like, slow it down. This is key to get in the adult chair. Slow down everything. So I've asked people, what could you be feeling? And then they go, well, I guess I could be feeling fear or sadness or overwhelm or whatever it is. But give yourself some patience and wait for it and let it come to you. If you feel stuck after a few minutes, it's okay. If you still can't get it, this is much easier for people. Tune into the body. Where do you feel the emotion? Do you feel tension? Do you feel tightness? Do you feel a void somewhere? Are your shoulders trying to compress in the back and touch together? Emotions are just energy and they get stuck inside of us when we're not feeling them. So it might create a feeling of tension or tightness in the body. So tune into that and be with it. Don't worry about naming it. Just be with the physical sensation. And I promise you, if you stay with that emotion and the physical sensation, which really is the emotion, if you sit with it long enough and just pay attention to it, it will change and morph with your attention. Another way is to journal. One of my favorite things. As I say to everybody, the pen is the doorway into your unconscious mind. So if you feel numb, angry, sad, disempowered, anything at all, journal it out. It's a wonderful way. What we're doing is we're getting a stream of thought to go. It's like churning water. It's like stepping into a river. We want that river of thought to start flowing through you. And journaling gets that river of thought to flow right through you. And you do it with a pen. You do it with a pen. Pen to paper is key. It's going to let that energy and the emotions start to come right through you. Don't get upset or stressed about journaling. Just get pen to paper and start writing. Even if you have no idea what to write, you put at the top of the paper, I have no idea what to write. Who cares? Just start writing. I don't know what to write. This is stupid. I hate Michelle for making me journal, but I'm going to try it anyway. Just put it on paper and watch what happens. I promise. I promise. Okay. Next thing. So we've talked about emotions. I really want to talk to you about your thoughts. And I want to know, what are you doing with yours? Remember, we have 90,000 thoughts a day. So when there is fear, anger, and judgment in our atmosphere, even like on the planet, think about it. When you have a thought of fear, any thought, where does that thought go? Remember, thoughts and emotions are energy. So when you have that thought, it gets released into the atmosphere, and then there's a collective energy. That's why right now on the planet, we feel fear. So much is going on a planet. So these thoughts then, we start attracting like thoughts to what we're thinking. So if I'm feeling a lot of fear, I'm going to attract in quite quickly more fear, and then from fear, it's like an avalanche. Then I go into disempowerment, and then I'm not worthy, and then I have shame, and it's like an avalanche if we're not careful. So it's of the utmost importance to learn how to do thoughts properly. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. And by the way, if you're an empath, oh my God, we're like magnets. We are magnets. It's like the energy of others and emotions of others and the whole planet, they just come right to us like a supercharged magnet. We have got to practice not buying into them. And a great way to do this, number one, is meditation. With meditation, we practice witnessing our thoughts. Like I've said before, it's like going to the gym and lifting weights. It takes a little bit of practice to build muscle. It takes a little time to build muscle. But after a couple of months, guess what? You got a nice set of muscles. You got some good abs going on. When you meditate, you're practicing witnessing your thoughts. So the first time you sit down, you might say, I can't stop these thoughts. Boom. You're not supposed to stop the thoughts. You're supposed to witness them. Don't think you're supposed to stop thoughts. You can't stop your thoughts. You can witness your thoughts. So this is what you're doing in meditation. You're practicing watching. I love the timer on Insight Timer. You get to choose all these gongs to use and bells and chimes as a timer. Set 10 to 20 minutes and just practice every day. I promise you, you know the studies on meditation. I mean, I could list 2 hours worth of studies and why meditation is phenomenal for you. During this time of what's going on in the planet, please meditate. Again, number 2, this is what we do with our thoughts. I just said this, journal. Journal your thoughts away on paper. If they're overwhelming you, just write and write and write and write and write and write and write to get them out. Buy yourself a lovely journal and call it, this is my thought journal, and go ahead. Get them on paper. Number 3, to help with our thoughts, again, whether you understand this concept or not, we are made of energy. Thoughts are energy. Emotions are energy. And when we are overwhelmed with thoughts, we become ungrounded. We do not ground well. And it is imperative that we are grounded. So grounding helps us to find our clarity and truth. Grounding helps us to stay connected and calm. So daily grounding is imperative. So spend time outside in bare feet. Just put your feet right on the grass for 15 minutes a day. If you don't want to do that, spend time in nature. If you don't want to do that, do a grounding meditation. There's a million of them on Insight Timer. I've got them on my website, YouTube channel, Google, YouTube. I don't care if you use mine or someone else's. Just do a grounding meditation. Do it for yourself. It's so beneficial. You must ground yourself. When there's this much fear going on within yourself and on the planet, we get knocked out of balance very easily and very quickly. Grounding helps you to stay in balance. Think about what grounding is and why we do it. Grounding is when you are taking your energy field and pulling it and anchoring it into the earth. Even though most people do not physically see this, you know the difference when you're grounding or not. Think about a tree, a giant tree. If there are no roots, the windstorm will come and knock it over. So for humans, when you have a lot of fear and you got a lot of anger and you got a lot of overwhelm and disempowerment, etc., that knocks us over. I don't want to be knocked over. So I practice grounding every day. Please join me in that. Another thing, get in water. Very important. You know, I talk about the energy field sometimes. I want to talk about it again. Clean off your energy field with water. You need to get in the bathtub with 2 cups of sea salt, add some essential oils if you'd like. Taking a bath is so beneficial. It will help you emotionally, of course, energetically. It's cleaning out chakras. It's cleaning out the energy field. If you do not have a bathtub, at least get in the shower when you feel overwhelmed. Water cleanses off your energy and helps you emotionally and with your thoughts. Here's the last one. Turn off the news, please. Turn it off. Take a break from social media. I swear, do not turn the news on anymore. Just don't. And I realized about 3 weeks ago, my routine was to get up in the morning after I meditate and do my thing. I'd go take a shower. And as I was getting ready in the morning, I would have like Good Morning America or something on like in the background for 15 minutes because I like to get the first 15 minutes and hear what the weather is. You know, I'm a big weather girl. I like to know what's going on. But what I realized is when I went on a news fast, what I realized was when I turned it back on that one day a few weeks ago, even the music created anxiety that they had with the news, paired with the news. I said, oh my God, 15 minutes. I didn't even last 15 minutes. I think it lasted 5. And I said, no more. I can't expect the world to change and make me feel better. Michelle needs to make herself feel better. And I say the same thing to you guys. We need to learn how to take care of ourselves. So I had to turn off the news. And let me tell you, I feel so much better. If you feel like you need to know about what's going on, read. But limit yourself to like 5 minutes. Like you can get all the facts in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Social media, take a break. Take a break. We get sucked into that thing and it can take you down a very, very negative path. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But what we want to do is to remember to spend time alone. Are you spending, and I'm not, even doing meditation as an activity. Are you just spending time going for a walk, sitting in the backyard, sitting by yourself on the couch? Connect to your inner voice. You've got to slow down and do this for yourselves, because that's where we connect to that deep source that we come from. Call it, again, God, universe. Again, I understand we want to know what's going on in the world. I do too. I ask my husband, I ask people around me, because I know that they're going to do a lot of fact checking, and I get just a little bit of news that I have to get. And I do my own research. I research things. So I want to talk about feeling triggered. We have all been feeling very, very, very triggered. And you can follow the above steps that I just mentioned. But I want you to remember what a trigger is, because following the above steps help you to stay more in a centered place and get triggered less. I was starting to get triggered all the time. I'm like, whoa, that's why I turned off the news. I would hear the news guy say one thing that ticked me off, and then something else was going on, and that made me angry. And I was like, okay, let's just hold on, Michelle. You're way out of balance. Like, because of what I do, but more than that, because of who I am, I want to be in balance. I want my words to come from a place of balance, and I want my words and my actions to come from an authentic place. So when we're triggered, let me define it. We are triggered when someone or something outside of us activates, with their words or actions, an unconscious belief within us. These beliefs are ours. Triggers are a wonderful way to find your inner shadow belief. Let me just tell you, triggers are one of my favorite things. The unknown and castaway beliefs that exist in our unconscious mind. That's what a shadow belief is. Okay. So if you're feeling triggered, sit with it. Now, it's not to say some of the things that I've witnessed and heard about over the last few months have been horrifying, and I'm freaking angry about them. And that's legit anger. I'm talking about triggers. Okay. Let me tell you what happened to me. Just the other day, this happened to me. So someone had commented on one of my social media feeds, and she had misread clearly, because I didn't understand her comment. She had misread something and misinterpreted something. And she was really upset with me. I'm like, what is she talking about? And then I understood. I go, oh, she just misinterpreted what I said. But her comment was really ugly and judgmental. And I was triggered. I was like, wow, I'm really, really hurt. And sat with it. He said, what we want to do with the trigger, let me just give you these quick steps. You sit with whatever's going on inside, which is, for me, I was, of course, initially very angry. And then I sat with it a while longer, and I was really hurt. And I dug deeper, and I sat with it. I was like, wait a minute, what's really going on? And I let my energy drop deeper into myself. I just closed my eyes and let myself really feel what was going on. And what I hit was a core belief of I'm unlovable or I'm unlikable. I was like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? It was a new one. And I want you to remember, when we work with the parts, the adult chair is based on parts. So we have all these different parts within us. And it doesn't mean all of me feels like she's unlovable. There's one part, like think about a puzzle piece to who I am. So I placed my hand on my heart, and I just sat there and I said, gosh, is it true that I feel like I'm unlovable today? And I just heard this little voice come in and say, yes, I do feel like I'm unlovable. And it was this little 3-year-old. I'm very visual. So not everyone gets visuals, but if you are a visual person, you might see a younger part of you that shows up. If you're someone that's more auditory, you just might hear words, and that's perfect as well. If you're someone that senses and you're more kinesthetic, that's fine too. You're going to sense the dialogue. One way or another, you will find your truth. So my little 3-year-old inner child came in, and she had her head down, and she said, I am unlovable. And I had my hands on my heart, and I slowed everything way down. I said, oh, honey, I love you. This isn't true. I love you. And she said, really? And I said, yeah, I do. And I said, you're so lovable. And she smiled, and she reached up and she gave me this huge hug. So I sat there and just held myself. And I said, And I said to the little girl, I love you so much again. And I felt this 3-year-old just integrate in, and it was done. So then I sat and I said, okay. And I felt different. It was interesting. And I sat with it and I said, okay, so now how do I feel about this woman? And I reread her comment. I am not even kidding you guys. I felt neutral. Totally neutral. It was amazing. That's how quickly a trigger can be gone, honestly. Such a good feeling. So during this time of feeling triggered, get under the hood of your conscious mind. Find triggers. It's like lifting up the hood of the car. It's like looking underneath. What is that? Even when I just mentioned earlier, like looking at and witnessing all that's going on in our world right now. I've been so angry. And some of my anger, I was like, wow, I'm really angry. What's that about? I go, this is more like a trigger, even the anger I was feeling. And I got inside and I was like, oh, there's disempowerment in there. So again, emotions are healthy, but when it's a trigger, we want to go after it. We want to get that trigger because it's an old emotional belief that is being brought up, and it's an opportunity to heal and transform. So no matter what's going on with you, there are a lot of emotions coming out, a lot of fears, anger, again, so much. So many of us are feeling very similar things. I encourage you to get centered and take action or not from your adult. Whatever feels true for you, find your truth and be fearless about it. But find your truth. Be mindful of what you're doing. Be mindful of what you're saying. This is how we live from the adult chair. And slow down. Thoughts, emotions, and the energy on the planet is moving so fast right now. I truly feel a transformation is upon us. And it's painful. It can be really painful at times when we transform. But there are truths that are being brought to the surface and into the light that needed to be brought there. And as they're being brought here, it's painful. People are going through a lot of pain right now. For so many reasons. But it's a necessary part of our growth and our transformation of this planet, and it is so overdue. Our world needs it. It's cleaning itself off. And there's more light and truth are coming. I can feel it in every part of my being. More peace, balance, and equality is coming for all of us. It is needed. So hang tight. Stay in your adult chair. I promise you, you will navigate in a way of balance when you live in this place, when you live in the moment and mindfully live each day from a place of connection to the deepest part of yourself. And together, you guys, we will all make it through this transition and transformation with grace. I love you all so much, and I will be back with you on August 13th, and I'll talk to you soon.